Hello. My wife accidentally sent me her Las Vegas flight confirmation with another man. I didn't confront her right away. I waited. By the time her plane landed, I had already cut off every dollar she had, leaving her stranded 1,700 miles from home. My name is Leo. I am 38, and I work as an auto mechanic in Denver. Most of my days start early because the shop opens at 7 and people want their cars fixed before they head to work. It is steady work and the hours are predictable, which is something I have always valued. My wife Anna is 36. We have been married for 7 years and living in the same townhouse in Denver for about 5. She works as a manager at a regional retail company and her schedule moves around depending on staffing and seasonal promotions. We share finances. 1 joint checking account, 2 credit cards under the same account, and most of the bills set to autopay. That setup made sense when we got married because my income was stable and her bonuses came and went depending on how her store performed. Anna has always had a strong personality. She talks fast, corrects people mid-sentence, and has no problem telling someone they are wrong even in a crowded room. Early in the relationship, I thought it was confidence. Over time, it started to feel more like constant irritation directed at whoever happened to be nearby. I am not someone who enjoys constant arguments. My job already involves frustrated customers and broken machines all day. When I get home, I prefer things simple and quiet. About 3 weeks ago, I was finishing paperwork at the shop after closing when an email notification popped up on my phone. It came through our shared travel folder because Anna linked several accounts to the same cloud drive years ago when we planned a trip to Oregon. The subject line was a flight confirmation. Las Vegas departure from Denver. 2 passengers. One of those names was my wife. The other name was not mine. I opened the email because at first I assumed it was some kind of work trip she forgot to mention. Anna travels occasionally for regional meetings, and Las Vegas hosts a lot of retail conferences. That would have made sense. The details immediately ruined that explanation. The ticket was booked for 2 nights. Friday morning departure from Denver and Sunday evening return. No company name attached. No conference listing. Just 2 seats booked together. Anna Whitmore. And under that, another passenger. A guy named Derek H. The confirmation also showed that both seats were purchased on the same payment method. Our joint credit card. The one we use for groceries, gas, and normal household stuff. I sat in the office chair at the shop for a few minutes, just looking at the screen. The place was already closed. The front lights were off, and the only sound was the air compressor cycling in the back. The first reaction most people expect in that moment is anger. Honestly, I mostly felt something colder than that. Because the situation immediately became a logistics problem. Anna and I share finances. Every account touches the same hub. Our checking account feeds the credit cards. Her debit card pulls from the same place mine does. So the Vegas trip was not just a secret. It was a secret being funded directly from our shared money. I did not call her. I did not text her. I closed the email and drove home like a normal evening. When I walked into the house, she was on the couch scrolling through her phone complaining about a scheduling issue at work. Same tone she always uses. Sharp. Irritated. Talking about how everyone around her is incompetent. She asked how my day went without looking up. I told her it was busy. That was the entire conversation. That night, I didn't mention the flight confirmation. I didn't ask about Vegas. I didn't ask about Derek. Instead, I started checking something else. Our bank accounts. Our finances are simple because I intentionally keep them that way. 1 joint checking account where both of our paychecks land. From there, everything branches out. Mortgage, utilities, car insurance, groceries, and the credit cards. Nothing complicated and nothing hidden. I opened the banking app and started going through the last couple weeks. The Vegas flight stood out immediately. Just under $900 charged to the joint card 3 days earlier. No explanation attached. No conversation beforehand. Just a quiet purchase sitting in the middle of normal grocery and gas transactions. Then I checked something else. Limits and permissions. Most couples do not think about how their banking actually works until something goes wrong. Because I handle most of the bill paying, I am listed as the primary account holder. Anna is an authorized user on the credit cards and a joint holder on checking, which means technically we both have access. But I control the back-end settings. Spending limits. Card activation. Transfer permissions. None of that was set up with control in mind when we married. It was just the way the bank structured the accounts. Still, seeing the Vegas ticket changed how I looked at those options. So instead of confronting Anna that night, I started adjusting a few things quietly. First, I lowered the daily spending limit on the shared credit card. Then I opened the debit card settings attached to the checking account. The bank allows individual card restrictions, travel notifications, temporary locks, withdrawal caps. I did not shut anything off yet. I just looked at the calendar. The flight left Friday morning. That gave me 4 days. 4 days where Anna thought she was flying to Las Vegas with Derek, and 4 days where she believed every dollar in our accounts would still be waiting for her when she landed. The next few days were completely normal on the surface. Anna left for work each morning complaining about her staff. I left for the shop before 7 and spent most of the day under car hoods. When we were both home in the evening, she talked about inventory problems and lazy employees while scrolling through her phone. At no point did she mention Las Vegas. She never mentioned a work conference, never mentioned traveling, never asked if I had plans that weekend, which told me everything I needed to know about how she expected this to play out. She assumed I would never know. Wednesday night, I confirmed the flight details again. Friday departure, 9:10 in the morning, direct flight. Then I looked at our banking controls one more time. People imagine revenge as something loud and emotional. Yelling, arguments, dramatic confrontations in kitchens. I was not interested in any of that. What I was interested in was timing. Anna relies heavily on our shared accounts. Her paycheck goes into the same checking account as mine, but most of her personal spending runs through the joint credit card. She rarely carries cash and almost never checks the banking app, which meant if something changed suddenly, she would only discover it when she tried to use the card. Thursday night, she mentioned something that actually made the situation easier. She told me she had an early meeting Friday morning and might leave the house before I woke up. I nodded and said that made sense. Friday morning, I was already awake when she left. I heard the garage door open around 6. About 20 minutes later, I got the text. Heading to work early today. I responded with a thumbs up. Then I waited. At 8:50 a.m., I opened the banking app, and I started flipping switches. At 8:50 a.m., the plane was already boarding. I know that because I checked the airline status page before touching anything. The flight was on time. Gate already assigned. Boarding groups moving through. Anna was almost certainly sitting in that airport terminal with Derek thinking the weekend was about to start. That was when I opened the banking controls. First thing I did was lock the joint credit card. The bank app has a simple toggle. Card temporarily unavailable for purchases. It takes about 3 seconds. Next, I opened the debit card settings connected to our checking account. That card was still fully active. I set the withdrawal limit to 0. Then I toggled travel protection on the card, but restricted it to Colorado transactions only. Anything outside the state would trigger a decline automatically. After that, I moved the majority of the money from checking into my separate savings account. That account had always existed because I used it for tax payments and larger repairs. Anna technically knew about it, but she had no card connected to it and no direct access. The transfer took maybe 10 seconds. When I finished, the joint checking account still existed. It still looked normal on the surface, but the usable balance was basically nothing. No credit card, no out-of-state debit purchases, no ATM withdrawals, just a few dollars sitting there doing nothing. I locked my phone and went back to work. The shop was busy that morning. 2 brake jobs and a transmission issue on a delivery van. By the time I took my lunch break around noon, I had honestly stopped thinking about the whole thing. Then my phone started vibrating on the workbench. Anna. 3 calls in a row. Then a text. Why is the card getting declined? I wiped my hands on a rag and read the message again. About 30 seconds later, another one came in. I am at the airport and nothing is working. Call me right now. I did not call her right away. Mostly because I already knew what the conversation would sound like. Anna never starts with calm questions when something goes wrong. She starts at full volume and works from there. So instead, I finished the brake job I was working on. About 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Another message. The card is frozen or something. Did the bank flag fraud? Then another one right after. Answer your phone, Leo. I finally picked up and called her. She answered immediately. No greeting. Just frustration. She said the card kept getting declined at the airport cafe, and then again when she tried to pay for something at a store. After that, she tried the debit card at an ATM, and that failed too. Her tone was sharp and impatient, like I was somehow responsible for fixing it immediately. She asked if the bank contacted me. I asked her a simple question instead. Where are you right now? She answered without thinking. Denver Airport, which told me 2 things. First, she had not boarded yet. The flight must have been delayed or still boarding. Second, she was lying automatically because the flight confirmation clearly said Las Vegas. So I kept the conversation calm. I said that was strange and I would check the account. She told me to hurry because she was trying to grab breakfast before her meeting. Her meeting? Still the same story. I opened the airline confirmation email again while she was talking. Boarding status had changed. Gate closed, which meant the plane had just left Denver. I leaned against the tool cabinet and asked one more question. Anna, what meeting are you flying to? There was a pause on the line. Not long, but long enough. The pause lasted maybe 2 seconds. Then Anna switched tone the way she always does when she realizes something might not line up. Her voice went defensive immediately. She said it was a regional planning meeting and she already told me about it earlier in the week. That was not true. Anna usually fills the house with details about work, store issues, staffing complaints, corporate decisions. If there was a trip, I would have heard about it repeatedly. So I kept my voice neutral. I asked where the meeting was. Another pause. Then she said Las Vegas. The interesting thing was she said it like she had just remembered, like she needed a second to decide what the story should be. At that point, I already knew she was on the plane, or at least about to be. The airline tracker showed the flight climbing out of Denver. So I asked the next obvious question. If this is a work trip, why did the confirmation email show 2 passengers? Silence again. Longer this time. Then she did something predictable. She got angry. Anna started accusing me of snooping through her email. She said it was weird and controlling. She asked why I was checking her travel confirmations like some paranoid husband. I let her finish. Then I told her something simple. The email came through the shared folder she connected years ago. I did not go looking for it. It showed up on my phone. She did not have an answer for that. Instead, she pivoted again. She said Derek was just a coworker and they were flying together for the same meeting. That explanation would have sounded better if the tickets were not purchased together on our credit card. I pointed that out. Another pause. Then Anna said something that actually made the next part very easy. She said we could argue about it later because she needed to land first and grab an Uber into the city. That was when I finally told her the truth about the cards. Anna stopped talking the moment I said that. I explained it slowly because I wanted the situation to be completely clear. I told her the credit card was locked. I told her the debit card would not work outside Colorado. I told her most of the money had already been moved out of the joint checking account. There was a second where she did not react. Then the yelling started. She asked if I was serious. She said I could not just shut off her access to our money while she was traveling. Her voice went sharp and loud the way it always does when she thinks pushing harder will fix the situation. She told me to stop playing games and unlock the card immediately. I let her finish. Then I reminded her of something simple. She was the one flying across the country with another man using our shared credit card. That quieted her down for a moment. Not because she agreed, because she was recalculating. Anna finally asked what exactly I had done to the accounts. So I told her. The credit card would decline. The debit card would decline outside Colorado. And the money in checking was basically gone. Another pause. Then her voice changed. Less aggressive. More tense. She asked how she was supposed to pay for anything in Las Vegas. Hotel. Food. Transportation. I did not answer that question. Instead, I said something else. I said that before we talked about money, she should probably explain why she was flying to Vegas with a guy named Derek without telling her husband. That was when she snapped again. She started yelling about privacy and control and how I had no right to sabotage her trip. She said we would deal with this when she got home and that I needed to fix the cards immediately. That was when I realized the conversation had reached the point where nothing useful was going to come out of it. So I ended it. I told her the cards were staying locked. Then I hung up. And before the phone could ring again, I blocked her number. The phone immediately tried to ring again. Blocked call notification. Then another. Anna was persistent when she was angry. Normally that meant a long chain of messages about how someone else had ruined her day. This time the messages could not reach me anymore. I slid the phone back into my pocket and finished the transmission job I had been working on. For the next couple hours, the shop stayed busy enough that I barely thought about it. Cars coming in, customers asking questions, parts deliveries showing up late like they always do. Around mid-afternoon, I checked my phone again. No missed calls, but there were emails. Anna had switched to that once she realized the number was blocked. 3 emails sitting in the inbox. The first one was pure anger. She wrote that what I did was insane and controlling. She said I had no right to trap her somewhere without access to money. The second one had a slightly different tone. She asked if I could at least unlock the debit card long enough for her to get a hotel room. The third email was shorter. She said she had landed in Las Vegas and none of her cards worked. The hotel reservation would not go through because the payment method failed. Then she wrote something that told me the situation was already turning uncomfortable for her. Derek had assumed she was paying, which meant he had shown up expecting the trip to be funded already. I closed the email and sat there for a moment thinking about the situation. Las Vegas is about 1,700 miles from Denver. Flights are expensive last minute. Hotels are expensive if you show up without a valid card. And the person she traveled with clearly did not plan on covering the whole weekend. For the first time all day, I actually wondered how long it would take before Anna realized the trip she planned had just turned into a very different kind of weekend. I finished work around 5 that evening and drove home through normal Denver traffic. The whole drive I kept thinking about the practical side of things. Once the situation became clear that morning, there was really only one decision left to make. I was not interested in dragging out a confrontation when the facts were already obvious. So instead of sitting in the house waiting for her to come back, I spent the evening doing something more useful. First, I called a local attorney that one of my coworkers had used during his divorce last year. The consultation was quick. Colorado is a no-fault state, and the lawyer said the process was straightforward once paperwork started. By the end of the call, he was preparing the initial filing. After that, I started packing. Anna had a lot of things in the house, but the townhouse itself was in my name. I bought it 3 years before we got married, which made the legal side easier. The lawyer confirmed I could remove her belongings as long as they were delivered somewhere safe. So I loaded everything that clearly belonged to her. Clothes, work documents, shoes, personal items from the bathroom, her laptop and desk equipment. It took 2 trips with my truck. Her parents live about 30 minutes outside Denver. They were surprised when I showed up with half their daughter's life in the back of a pickup, but I kept the explanation simple. I told them Anna had taken a trip to Las Vegas with another man, and our marriage was finished. They did not argue. By the time I got back home, the house looked noticeably different. Quieter, less cluttered. I changed the garage code and front door locks that night. Then I blocked her email the same way I blocked her phone earlier. Anna eventually made it back to Denver 2 days later. I know that because her father left me a voicemail saying she was staying with them. The divorce papers were delivered the following week. That was the last direct interaction between us. Looking back, the strange part is how calm the entire process felt once everything was obvious. Anna planned a secret weekend in Las Vegas. She just did not plan for what would be waiting when she came home. Bye-bye.